In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, Assalamu alaikum and welcome students. Today we will start the second module of WMS on my YouTube channel, which is Permit to Work. We will talk about its training. First, there will be an introduction, purpose, scope. Then there will be role and responsibilities, framework and process. First, what is a permit to work? For the purpose of this permit to work, standard work can be described as an activity that comprises one or more tasks. For the purpose of this permit to work, standard work is tasks that are planned and executed, that whatever your complete work may be, there may be more than one task. There may be more than one activity. For example, if you have to do the tray removal of a column, then for that first you will have to do the blinding. Then your main way will be opened. Then your internal inspection will be done. Then your tray removal will be done. After that, it is implicit that the work has been agreed as necessary, having been through the planning stage of the work management system process. It is implicit that the work has been agreed AT as necessary, having been through the planning stage of the work management system process. Having been through the planning stage of work, whatever work you need to do, it will be agreed upon in the WMS so that it can be done with proper planning. The work permit, which is the permit to work system, will authorize you on how to perform the work and how to manage the related risks and hazards. The issue of a permit does not by itself make a job safe. Issuing a permit does not mean that your work will be completed safely or that you can work safely, and how to manage its risks and hazards. The issue of a permit by itself does not make a job safe. Issuing a permit does not mean that your work will be completed safely or that you can work safely by itself. By itself, it does not make a job safe. The people who for the work can only achieve that are planning and preparing for it. It will be achieved because of these people and those who are going to perform and supervise the work. From your planning phase to your FRA attachment, then your permit approval, your work execution, your safe handover, all these procedures need to work together. Only then can your work be safely completed according to the permit work. What is ensured within the permit work? First of all, it is the system containing documents for controlling and coordinating work.
The system document's purpose is to establish and maintain safe work conditions, create and maintain safe working conditions throughout all job activities, ensure hazards and controls are defined and implemented. You need to create a safe working condition and continue it, maintain it during all job activities, ensuring hazards and controls are defined and implemented. You must have clearly identified all the hazards related to this work. There should be no hidden hazards and the control measures for them should be properly defined. There should be none that we cannot control as low as reasonably practicable. All control measures should be identified. Act as a written agreement between the parties, your permit issuer, permit receiver. Control measures should be identified.
Act as a written agreement between the parties, your permit issuer, permit receiver. When the permit is signed, between the two of them, you will have a written agreement stating what work we will do. Will we use safety precautions? Will we use a work scope? How will we control the hazards we have? What will be the competence level of the people we have? And all the requirements of the permit work. All permits that are agreed upon must be ensured by the permit receiver, who is the job performer, that everything is fulfilled 100%. I would request you to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos and don't forget to create a link so that you can receive notifications for every upcoming lecture. I would also request you to share this video link with all your friends who want to understand the MSHAJP course in Urdu. So you want to understand MSc ADNOC JP course in Urdu Yiddish language. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we will talk about what things are explained to you in the permit work document or what things are clearly told to you in it. First of all, we will come to the specific work scope, the work package you will have, which will be the work scope, which will be told to you in detail. You can't work outside this scope. Site conditions documented. For excavation, get an underground plan. For height work, live wires identified. Get certification for unrelated risks. Docs list hazards. So there you will be given a plan of underground facilities if you have to work at height anywhere. So if you have all your lifelines in the areas, you will be told about it by the manto. If anyone on your side D2 will be at risk apart from your work, then according to that, you will have to get proper certification. Documentation will be given to you, which are the risks in a day. We have prep, site hazards, precautions, controls, prepare for work. If working at height, set up proper folding.
To change walls, hire a crane. Have the new wall ready. Discuss work and site hazards. What precautions are needed? What safety measures and controls are needed? Discuss equipment systems, buildings, work area. Learn aloud tools and equipment. What tools can you use? What systems will you use? For hydrojetting, know approved equipment and systems. Which control meter are you following? We will complete our work safely. After that comes the equipment systems, buildings, and work area association. What tools and equipment will you be allowed to use in this job? What tools can you use? What systems will you use to complete your work? If you have hydrojetting, what approved equipment do you have? According to which systems do you have to perform your work? If you need to work in several areas, your work will remain structured and will be conducted on the ground. All the layouts will be provided to you in the permit. And after that, we will discuss affected parties and required communication. If there are any other parties linked to your work, you will communicate with them. For example, if you are working on a conveyor and you need to stop the conveyor within that supply chain, you should consider all the parties that could be affected by that. This notification should reach everyone on your phone. After that, there should be proper communication. While you are working, the isolation facility provided to you should not be removed without communication and without prior notice, so that no problem of any kind is created while you are working. You should not have to face any emergency conditions. After this, what happens is that as per the requirement for dainty personal protective equipment, whatever personal protective equipment you will need as per your work nature, you will have a PP record. They will be clearly mentioned in the permit. For example, if you have a stacking job, then you will need finger service. You will need impact register clubs. If you want to work on your height, then you will have to lose your full body. Similarly, whatever work-related activity you have, if you have to work in H2S red zone or amber zone, then you will require breathing operator or supplied air, and then we have to do verification, operation control, and validation. Whenever you have to work, you have to check your preparation 100% and then start the work. You should have all the record tools, you should have all the equipment, your working staff should be complete. If you want to make something folding or platform, you should have it made. Then whatever hazards you may face while working should be properly controlled. If you have any such chemical or combustible material with you, it can harm you while working. You need to remove any combustible materials or chemicals from the area. And if you are unable to finish your work on time, all the details on how to revalidate your permit will be mentioned in the permit. The purpose of the permit to work in the WMS is primarily to ensure that a well-defined permit to work system is implemented across the ADNOC group companies. All companies within the NOC group and all partners should have one well-defined and detailed permit to work system implemented. It should be the same for all companies. This would provide an ensure safe working environment by providing management control over various hazardous activities, and the management controls would be implemented. All your hazardous activities, almost all activities that will be carried out in any plant or site of the company will have some kind of hazard involved. Therefore, for every activity, you will require a permit to work. You can carry out the hazardous activities inside the Paramtuvarga in a safe manner. Your people will discuss in detail all the things needed to manage your plan while protecting the environment. After this, it is important. So note that permit to work is not a permission to carry out the hazardous class. Just because you don't have permission to do hazardous work doesn't mean you can do any hazardous work. It means that you will be provided with information and instructions. So create this professionally. You will be provided with all the instructions on how to do even the most dangerous work safely, how to manage the work in which steps, and how to control all the risks so that your people remain safe during the work. Your premises, plant, and environment will stay safe. The permit work system is followed across ADNOC companies to ensure all instructions and parameters are completed. The ADNOC WMS covers this document scope applicable to all ADNOC group companies, including employees, contractors, facilities, and interface activities. All of them should be completed.
so that your people, your premises, and your environment can be secured. What will be the scope of the permanent work topic in ADNOC WMS? So, the first thing is that this document shall be applicable to all ADNOC Group companies. This document, which will be a permit work, will be applicable to all the companies of the ADNOC Group. In addition to employees, contractors, facilities, including interfaces, serial activities, and services without exception, whoever your employees, contractors, facilities will be, main to C related to the ADNOC Group, as many of your third parties or your direct. Where there are contractors, all people will follow this permit to work. It will be applicable to them. Next, the contractors will be responsible for ensuring the work. All activities that will be carried out by the ADNOC group of companies at any plant site according to their contract. Agreement, everything should be managed within the scope of work. Teeth. All things should be managed within the scope of work. All things inside the permit tower, and all the things that should be reported properly, whatever your contract holder is. In what sense he is doing all the things, how will he perform them, and will his procedure be? All things should be reported in accordance with the permit to work in the WMS framework. All things should be applicable in the ad hoc WMS BERL, which is the permit to work system. What will be the roles and responsibilities, and how will they be set? We have all roles within the permit to work process are described. Each role has specific responsibilities and accountabilities. And accountability methods ensure responsibilities are met. Each role will have specific responsibilities and accountabilities, and the accountability method will be established. It will be C&D. If he has fulfilled the responsibilities, how much he has completed them, and his completion and harmonization for the PTW process across ADNOC Group, adopting common terminology. For the PTW process across the ADNOC Group, which is the permit to work system, in the full ADNOC Group, all businesses should adopt the common terminology. For naming of roles and understanding of their responsibilities and accountabilities, all the groups of companies that are working within ADNAV, the role reset within them. The responsibility and accountability procedure will remain the same in all the groups of companies. It will remain harmonized, and any one group of companies will be safe from any conflict or any kind of problem in relation to another. And it will remain safe from any conflict or any kind of problem arising between one group of companies and another. After that, we have the ultimate success of the PTW system, which is completely dependent on the competence. It will depend on how aware people are about it, their experience, how much training they have, their knowledge, and the awareness of the people working, how much information they have about it. Carrying out the activities they are going to perform. Each group company shall maintain an up-to-date and approved list of the people authorized as signatories in the permit work system. They should have an up-to-date approved list of the people who will be authorized as signatories in the permit work system. In all group companies, the list of people to be approved can include those who are approved in writing by the asset owner. The asset owner will approve a list in writing, which will be reviewed and approved on an annual basis. It should be up to date, meaning all the professional training of the people should be valid and readily available. If they have changed companies or moved to another group, they should be removed from the list and the list should be reapproved. Regarding the permit work system of ADNOC WMS, what responsibilities will the authorities have? First of all, the Asset Approval Authority, which we call ADA, will give the final approval of the permit, After that comes the Area Authority. It will be under the roles and responsibilities of the Area Authority to authorize all the work, decide which person will do the work, what responsibilities each person will have, and what things need to be ensured. Authorizing all these things is the responsibility of the 18 May. After that comes the permit issuer. The permit issuer will issue the permit after ensuring all the pre-regular controls and other necessary things. The performing authority, which we refer to as PA, the most crucial task of the PA is to request the permit. In which unit and in which area, the PA will request the permit for what work needs to be done on which equipment. Along with this, all additional certificates from FRA, GA, etc. will be attached and the permit will be requested for approval. Through WMS, the permit closes post-job. The performer receives and accepts it after all documentation, certificates, and control measures per approved FRA are confirmed. When the job is to be executed, the permit will be received and accepted after ensuring all agreed documentation, all certificates, and everything on the side. All control measures should be ensured as per the attached FRA, which must be approved. First, we have the permit endorser, whose main responsibility, as mentioned in their job description, is to endorse the permit. These are some roles and responsibilities set for all authorities in ADNOC WMS under control. Under PTW, how various tasks are controlled is outlined. The first point we have is that safe and the effective use of the PTW system is through its local application. In the ADNOC group of companies, it is the responsibility of the person who is the authorized appointed asset owner for any plant or site to ensure that proper training has been provided to all individuals, all equipment. And crafts we have must have valid third-party certification. The third-party certification provider should be approved by ADNOCing. Related to this, according to the permit, all our agreed SOPs, FRAs and JSAs that have been created should be proper, and their existence should be ensured. The next point is about work. Categorization chart advises the type of permit. So the WCC we have will let us know which permit we will have, whether it's a hot work, critical or general work permit. We will simply fill out the checklist and based on what is applicable, we will decide which permit is needed for which type of work. After that, the JSA or FRA will be applied and all recommendations and guidelines will be provided by the WCC. We will receive guide from WCC. We will get them from the work categorization chart. Exceptions from the PTW process must meet below. Firstly, there are routine activities including maintenance, which are operator jobs happening. Routine activities, including small levels of maintenance, do not require a PTW for this work, including maintenance that is being done by the operator as planned. Routine activities, including small levels of maintenance, do not require a PTW for this work. Any activity that is very risky, 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 then there is very little risk in this work, very little danger. So you can do this work without a permit. A single discipline trade, any individual doing their routine work alone, without needing help or support from anything, or any third party facilitating them, can also be done without a permit. After that, we have completed in less than a shift. For this point, we will refer to the WCC. So, the work we have is of a high resolution nature, for which I will need a permit. Otherwise, any work that can be completed in one shift can be a routine job or a non-routine job. As per WCC, we will not have a permanent requirement for this work. There is no impact on operations. Routine jobs are done in any shift, unit, area or equipment. We will not have a permanent requirement for routine jobs. They are being done in one shift, in one unit, in one area on multiple equipment or single equipment. So for all the routine jobs of operations, we will not require a permit. What is the BTD view interface with the ad hoc group of companies and external authorities? For this, let's first discuss what an interface is. Any work in such an area that is called the boundaries of two parties, into the sharing of common boundaries of two bodies, common space of two bodies, or common face of two bodies. Any work that involves two parties, two teams going in parallel. If our work is in two units, we will cover it in the interface. If our work is near another plant after the planned one, we will cover it in the interface. The interface can cover the procedure, but it does not have a ceremony. The interface procedure of PTW is about how to manage such conditions. All the points listed below, we are going to discuss 4 points. These points will be mandatory, but not limited to them. Additional controls can also be implemented. So the first point is that in permit work, we need to clearly identify 100% of the interface area with other parties involved to determine how much our work will affect their area. If we need to work in parallel, how will our work affect theirs? Or, for example, work in a fenced area. if any work needs to be done inside a plant's fenced area or within 5 meters of the pipeline, any work within 5 meters of your underground pipeline will be covered and controlled under the PTW interface. Work requiring an easement certificate, any work where we will face an interface, will require an easement certificate which should be live and attached with the permit. We will discuss the easement certificate in detail in our next lesson. Whenever we need to proceed with work according to the PTW interface, an authorized person for the easement certificate is required. Authorized person for easement certificate. Along with the easement certificate, a competent authorized person will be appointed who will play a crucial role between both parties, ensuring coordination so that while working in the interface, both parties can safely execute their tasks, either within or close to each other's premises. This will allow for proper control of the work. When we discuss the WCC indemnity study which we refer to as the work category chart, we start with part 1. The first note is to start at the top of the list and answer the questions by placing an X for yes and no in the column. This means you need to start from the top and fill out the entire checklist, marking X or cross for whatever is applicable, so that based on that, you can prepare to identify which permit is needed for which activity. The second point is that all questions in Part A must be answered in order to use an existing GS. If you need to use an existing GS for any activity, it is essential that you select yes for all the subsequent parts. Only then can you use the existing permit type and the JS level, which is indicated below with a color code in parts B, C, and D for hot work outside hazardous classification areas. The AAA will be determined by the IWeb team. This means that the permit type and JS we have come to in B, C, and D will have all the checklist items signed in B if a critical permit is applicable. If we need a hot job or if no permit is required for a particular task, we can identify that based on the checklist in B, C, and D. After that, the AAA will be determined as per the job description, specifying what type of job we need to do in which area. The IWeb team will authorize the AAA based on the job specification. After that, further filling is not required in Part B and Part C. If you mark yes for the first part of Part B and C, you won't need further filling in the checklist or the WCC chart. That permit will be applicable for you. Where a formal risk assessment has been mandated by the IWeb team, the formal assessment can be applied to any category of the PTW, permit to work. If there are any requirements for FR1, you need to attach your FRA, which should be approved by the IWeb team. Additionally, you must ensure its attachment is done properly. So now we are talking about Part A. But Part 1 is, number 1 is that an approved JS exists. For the planned work execution, we have the JS library and we need to check everything that is in our approved JS. After approval, the combined team, which includes operation safety and execution, reviews the FR and approves it. After job execution, the FR becomes part of our library, gets stored and saved. So first, we need to check if there is any existing JS for this activity in any plant or area. If there is, provide the JS number and indicate which activity it was for, covering all conditions related to that activity. You need to select and store the right type of activity here. On number 2, the work activity, the listed JS must match the matter statement activity description for the planned work activity. This means that the work description in your JS or FR should reflect the same things that are in the matter statement. For example, if you need to open a panel, do internal folding, remove actual items, make internal changes, and conduct inspections, then all these things must be mentioned in the main description of your FR or JS for it to be applicable. After that, on number 3, list and identify all the associated hazards with the planned work A and specify appropriate control measures considering location-specific hazards. This is the most important point, whether all work-related hazards have been identified, either in your JS or not. Job specifications can also come into play. For instance, if you are using lifting equipment and using a lifting FR or material shifting, you need to ensure that the zone classification and area classification are mentioned. You cannot use a green zone lifting FR in a red or amber zone. So you need to make sure of these things, all hazards related to your job. Any potential hazards, including your area classification, location, or any areas in your sound, should be included. In your FRA, GSA must be mentioned, and the controlling interest should also be mentioned there. After that, it should be approved. Only in this scenario can you use that GSA from the library. After this request, and existing in permit also can be like, if all the requirements are fulfilled, you can request the permit and attach the same. Continuing the assessment. So let's move on to part B. Let's look at the next slides to see what the requirements for part B are. As I had seen, if the first part of part B and C is done, then that thing will be applicable for you. If you do not want to do it individually, then let's discuss part B. Well, in part B, we come to the first one. Does the work involve burning, gas cutting, welding to use the net film? For net film to work, for burning, gas cutting, welding for net film, in this work of ours, a flame is involved. Cutting, welding or grinding, whatever activity is going on in which we have a spark, a flame will be formed. So if this thing is being applied, we will apply it. Then for this we will need a hardware permit. We did not go into next slide. We did not answer or fill the next question. But if we have a 9 here, then we see next. The second question is whether the work involves external grinding, electrically powered or air powered. Okay, are you using pneumatic or electric grind, etc.? Next, what do we have to check? Does the work involve electrical, induction, preheating, stress relieving, and use of high temperature caliper? If we are using any of these things, then we will check it. Then we will be able to go to the further classification and check it. This will be our permit type T. Next, we have, does the work involve electric welding? Check if work involves dry grit, shot blasting, or hazardous zones. Identify zone 1, 2, or 0. Does it generate heat or use explosives? Are combustion engines in hazardous areas? If yes to all, A are. The work will generate hits from your work or not. 10. The work involves the use of the software and then the internal engine into the area. So, if we answer yes to all these questions, what will happen next? A hot work permit and JSA level 2 are required. Refer to note 3 above. Alright, if we get yes for these items, we will need a hot work permit to carry out the work. And along with that, we will need JSA level 2. Only then can we request the permit, attach it, and start our work. So that was part A for the general work permit, and part B was for the hot work permit. Next, we will move on to discuss the critical work permit. Let's discuss work permits. So, in part C, the first point we have is whether the work involves an ionizing radiation source. If that is the case, we will directly say yes and we will get a critical permit. The second point we have is whether the work involves hazardous activities. After that, what could those be? Spray, automated painting, grit blasting, etc. Mark yes or no in the checklist based on your activity. Work at height outside scaffolding or structure. Work can also be on a fixed structure or temporary platform. Whatever happens between the two, you have to do yes or no in the checklist here as per your work activity. Number 3 is on will the work be done at height, outside approved scaffolding platform or fixed structure. Okay, you can work at height on that fixed structure. 2. You can also work on a temporary elevated platform. Alright, your work Brady can also be on a limited platform. You then need to check its access. You need to check rope access, critical escape, folding, erection, etc. All these things by making noise, and this is the job description. Here, you have to mark yes or no in the checklist. Or the next, the work involves breaking and containment, including spreading and despreading of systems and equipment containing hydrocarbons and other high pressure, high compressor, and hazardous materials. So, if any work is to be done on any column or equipment where we have to do bedding and blending, if anything is involved, you will directly guess. And move towards the critical permit. 10. The work requires breaking into the line where isolation valves are suspected to be passing. If we need to close any valve, apply isolation, or work in any such area, a critical permit will be required. Next, we have 10. The work involves working on online flare stack towers or booms. If we need to work in a live plant, a critical work permit will still be required. Does the work involve spark producing work in hazardous classification areas, zone 1 or zone 2? If we are working in such an area where hazardous classification is present and spark protection is needed, a critical work permit will be required for that as well. Next, we have 10. The work involves the use of single MOV isolation. If we are using primary isolation there and not using positive isolation, a critical work permit will be required for that too. Will the work activity involve ultra high pressure water jetting? If you need to perform hydro testing or water jetting, a critical work permit will also be required. Next, will it be required to carry out all or part of the work activities at night conditions where protection is normally visible? If you need to perform any work at night, any type of activities, they will also fall under your critical work permit. Will it be required to carry out all or part of the work activity in difficult or extreme environments? If you need to work in high pressure, high wind, high temperature, or high humidity, all of that will be controlled under the critical work permit. At number 12, we have the work involving online leak sealing repair by flammable means. If you need to perform any work in a live plant, install any valve or perform isolation, it will be controlled under the critical work permit. Following that, the work affects facilities provided by the refuge protection. If you need to work on any facilities that are part of your emergency response or that are necessary to continue your process, all such activities will be controlled under the critical work permit. All related or affected parties will be involved. You will be able to work after verifying isolation, etc. Next, do any of the tasks involve working on live equipment? If you are working with any kind of live equipment, it could be an electric panel, it could be a pipeline, a team line, or a process line. You need to provide any notification or support on any live line. All these things will be controlled it will be controlled. And then in our number 15, does the work involve critical lift? So if we have any kind of lifting, rigging, we will control it under the critical work permit. Now we also have routine lifting, 9 routine as well, which includes simple lifting, critical lifting, compact lifting, or complicated lifting. All these details will be discussed in another video, but for now, if we have any kind of lifting and digging activity, we will control or cover it under the critical work permit. Number 16 is, does the work involve working with or primarily with high electric voltage? So if you have to work with any live high electric voltage, if there is any electrical job, it will definitely be controlled under your critical work permit. And finally, we have number 10. Does the work involve diving? If you have diving involved, you will need a diving certificate along with the critical work permit. What comes next? Critical work permit and level 2 JSA. Within this, if any of these applications or conditions apply to us and we mark them as yes, then a critical work permit will be required along with the level 2 JSA. After this, we move on to our last part here, which is the D part, to see what conditions are recorded in the D part. So, speaking of the D part, quoting suspend to the part D, remind that the work permit is not recorded. So, we discussed in light that there are some activities for which a work permit is not required to work on the side. PTW stands for deviation, which mainly also includes people's routine jobs that end with the shift. However, if a third party is involved in it, providing you with some support that Banoi assist in operations, then you will require a general work permit for which your GS level 1 will be revised on a daily basis. For this, follow the DDW except working requirements as per the blue standards. If you are using your daily routine work as per the previous slide, you won't need a permit for that. However, if you have hired some expertise or taken some support and your work is deviating from the daily routine, you will need a general work permit and GS level 1, which should be revised daily and attached with the permit. So review this once again, that with the general work permit, we need GS level 1, which will also be reviewed on a daily basis. For all our activities, including the next spark, cutting, building, or grinding, we will need hard work and level 2. In addition to this, all our critical activities, which include lifting confined spaces, we have JATIN certificates. Vehicle entry will also be included. After that, we have to work on columns, work on operation lights, do electrical work. For all activities, for major activities, we need critical work permit language, just like level 2 will be recorded. So I hope you like this detailed video from WCC. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section. In WMS, what are the types of permits? Which ones are there? Any such cool too. Activities that involve an ignition source will be covered in the hard work permit. For sample cutting, welding, guiding their confirmed source of ignition, from which ignition would be occurring, was recoil Yusuf. Hard work permit. In this we will need a hard work permit. After that we will have a critical work permit. A permit used for critical work activity, which critical work activity will be on the S work categorization chart. Whichever we have, we will have high activity. We'll cover critical work permit activities. The general permit is for activities not in hot or critical permits per WCC. Not covered in hard work and critical work permit. All activities that are not covered in the SWCC work classification chart hard work or critical work permit. For them, we will be doing general work permits on site. So we had 3 types according to the SPRO and MS work permit system, which we have discussed. We have all the permits in SPRO and MS. The section inside it is relevant. What all the things have to be checked and what are the specific things we will discuss in this video. So first of all, you will get the permit number on the top left. If it is not a copy of any permit, the previous permit number will also be there. Then the work order number, against which order number we are working, will be there on the top right. After that, we have the nature of work. We are doing hard work, we are doing grape blasting, we are doing explosion, whatever type of energy there will be, we have mentioned it here. Below it we will have the work description, the work title, what work we have to do. Along with that we have the plan date, the finish date, when we have to start the work, when we have to finish it. This will be the date of the plan work activity that we will have, which is the date of the permit. Its validity will be on the back side of the permit. Along with this, you are seeing below, we have different zone classification. Which zone is edge to edge? Which zone is edge to edge? Which zone is dust? Then the specification of edge to edge will be mentioned here. Then the process area is non-process area. If we talk about it on the left, then we will have what will be the location, what will be the equipment ID, what specific work is to be done in this equipment. Then the description of this work will come below. We have just written above scaffolding. It will come down to the folding of the internals, the folding of the externals, why it is to be done, the foreclosure, everything will come down to what tools can be used, what will be the source of ignition. Then the GP details will come up. What is the name of the job performer? What is his ID? Is there an ADNOC person? Is there a subconductor person? Then what is the planned job? Is there an emergency job? All these things will come down. In this section, we must ensure that all things are mentioned. The next section will be the most important one, which is about certifications. So, the major certifications you will need include isolation. If there is vehicle entry, you will need confined space entry and atmospheric testing. You will also need FRA certifications. You will need an atmospheric test, which should be at FRA level 2 or 1. You must ensure these things here. Along with that, you will have the AA signatures below. After the AA signatures, you will have the PI or permit endorsement signatures. Once all these things are filled out and your prerequisite controls are decided, then the permit will be approved. It will be left with your AAA, then AAA will sign it there. Then it will return to AAA for permit authorization. So AA will ensure all the pre-decision control and sign your permit and make it live. Now we go to the next page, which is the most important. Here, which GP is taking the permit at what time? Until when will his permit close? Who will be the next GP? All the details are on this page. A full fail will be done so that the validity of the permit can be assured for 7 days. Next, we will talk about the permit closure. After the permit closure, when you have completed the work, including housekeeping, all the documents, the permit closure will be done on this page section. In addition to the 3 types of permits in the EOM, why do we need these certificates and how many types? We have 10 types of images. Let's discuss why images are needed with the permit. These are supporting documents needed for any permit. Isolation, vehicle entry, atmospheric testing, confined space entry, execution certificates. These must accompany your permit as supporting documents. Next, there are complementary PTW requirements. For confined space work, an isolation certificate is essential. This validates or activates your confined space permit. Confined space entry or execution certificate is a set of supporting documents that should be mandatory with your permit. After that comes complementary to PTW. If we have to work in an area and have to work in a confined space, we must have an isolation certificate for the confined space. Then this will play a complementary part in making your confined space permit valid or live. It will take a complementary part to weld or like this confidence permit of yours. Independent docs mean any certificate will have its own existence. Certificates are valid for 7 or 28 days based on type. This varies with your work. For excavation, get an excavation certificate. For atmospheric testing, get a confined space entry certificate. For shifting materials, get a vehicle entry certificate. A lifting plan is a supporting document. What are the permit requirements for attaching a confined space entry certificate? So for this, you need an atmospheric test to be repeated in a confined space. So you will need a confined space entry certificate. If you need to shift materials somewhere, you will need a vehicle entry certificate. A lifting plan is not a certificate, but it is part of your supporting documents. Now, what requirements will there be for the attachment of the confined space entry certificate with the permit? First, any work requiring entry into a confined space is critical. Limited entry, oxygen deficiency, or toxic gases define a confined space. Get a permanent entry certificate before work. Any area that fulfills the properties of a confined space where there could be oxygen deficiency, limited entry and exit, or the presence of toxic gases will be classified as a confined space. Before working in such a confined space, you will need a confined space entry certificate along with the permit. A certificate will be required. On the top of the certificate, there will be params number. After that, there will be equipment number. Then there will be your job description. After that, there should be all the pre-regulated control things. On top of this, the number of your whole watcher certified space observer is also written. What is his employee number? What is his contact number? What is his name? So that we can determine our responsible person. Find space observer here. He should also be third party. He should have this knowledge and experience. That while working in confined space, how do I take care of my people? Apart from that, under which conditions can we continue working in confined space? And under which conditions we will have to stop the work? This will be mentioned here. Above this, after atmosphere gas testing, we have American continuous gas monitoring. Here we have to do it at a certain interval. Its frequency will be mentioned. How much time in advance do we have to do ventilation? Then that forced ventilation. That too will be mentioned above. So all the requirements for confined space entry from mean to will be mentioned on the permit. Which PPs should be installed, which braking devices should be required, which monitor should be used for gas monitoring, what will be the rescue plan for that. All the things will be required in the confined space entry permit along with the critical class permit. All the things I will be mentioned in the confined space certificate. What is a ventilation certificate? So it is required whenever breaking into the ground, whenever you have to do breaking in the ground, digging including dealing, then you will need a certificate. And cutting into the floors, walls, and ceiling to specify the precaution needed to protect time places from collapse of excavation and other hazards associated with underground cable, pipeline, and service activities whenever we have to do some ground breaking or excavation anywhere, then our people should not get exposed to the hazards associated with the underground cables, pipes, or services. We need to ensure that our excavation does not lead to any collapse that could endanger our people. So to install this purpose, we need an excavation certificate specifying which area we need to work in, which permit it is associated with, and what digging materials we can use. In which area do we have to do mechanical lifting? 1. What ground report do we have of that area? Which cables can be there below? And at which location will they be there? If we are crossing into an area, we need to know what service lines might be present and what underground facilities could be there. All these details will be included in the clearance reporting of the excavation certificate. Only after this certificate gets its valid life and is attached with the permit, we can start our execution work. So I hope you have understood the topic. The dialing certificate associated with the permit work system is required to ensure that appropriate controls are strictly applied. We have to go inside and do an activity, check measurements of something, check the readings, check the conditions. For whatever activity we will need a kunde, critical work permit, and ND, its diving certificate. Which permit is it? In which areas do we have to dive? Is there a team? Is there a need for regular control? Is there a need for breaching equipment? Is there a need for how do you carry your equipment with you? How do you shift transportation materials? And for maximum at one support at a single dive, how long can you stay inside? Alright, all the responsibilities for controlling activities will be clearly mentioned in the precautions. So if you have any questions regarding your diving certificate, feel free to ask me in the comments section about the requirements for the vehicle and machine entry certificate. If any vehicle or any generator compressor related to our activity is used, which will be engine generated, inside which the engine will fit, for example, a forklift can be used, a compressor can be used for ventilation, a generator can be used for electricity, a crane can be used. The engine will fit inside Kumon. A four-wheel drive can be used, a compressor can be used for ventilation, a generator can be used for electricity, a crane can be used. So to bring all those things into the area, we will need a vehicle and machine entry certificate. DT, the zone code classification certificate should be on the SZDs and certificates. The chalon wall should be installed. 1. The spark arrestor should be installed. After all the requirements, when we have to bring the equipment after the inspection, we should have a vehicle and machine entry well certificate with our permit. The permit number will come at the top, then the vehicle. The vehicle's plate number will appear, then the permit it is associated with will appear. Zone classification, which certificate is required in which zone, can it work, which third parties are required, where can you park it, all the information will be mentioned here, so you have to make sure that you have a valid and life entry certificate and a vehicle and machine equipment certificate. Only after that you can transfer or mop any of your equipment there. Why do we need a certificate? So the ionizing radiation certificate is required for all activities. If we need to use any radioactive material even for transportation or handling, we will require a critical work permit, along with an ionizing radiation certificate. This will depend on which permit is applicable and what type of material we have. If anyone needs to use, transport, or handle any radioactive material, we will require a critical work permit along with an ionizing radiation certificate for all these activities. This will depend on which permit is applicable and what type of material we have. You need to have a vehicle and machine safety certificate before you can transfer or move any equipment there. So why do we need the radiation safety certificate? The radiation safety certificate is required for all activities. If we Headley and radioactor, any radioactive based on the process instruments. Okay, if we have any, we need to use the metric, we need to transport it, we need to handle it, we need to take it for use. For all the work, we will need a critical work permit along with an ionizing radiation certificate. According to which permit is it? What type of material do we have? How do we have to use it? How much quantity do we have? How much exposure can it have? In what time do we have to use it? Do we have all the people competent to use it? So all these things will be covered in such a certificate. So among the certificates attached to the permit in WMS, the most important certificate is about atmospheric test record form. So whenever we have to start work in an area, first of all, the EGT authorized gas tester will come there and do gas testing. Who checks which gas? What is the hydrocarbon concentration? How much vapors are there? How much is the adequacy of the exhaust? If it is low, then it will be a problem for us to take this sand. If it is high, then there will be more than the amount of carbon monoxide there. If the amount of oxidant is high, it will react with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Oxygen levels must be critical for breathing. Then check H2S toxic gases. Consider these factors before working, especially in confined spaces. The key is the atmospheric gas testing certificate for safety. It checks hydrocarbon concentration and toxic gases. Ensure oxygen is 19.5% to 23.5%. Conduct continuous atmospheric testing and maintain gas testing records as per permit requirements. A glance at the concept of movement. Hydrocarbon concentration will come inside it. Toxic gases will come. Okay, after that, in order to adequacy of oxygen, we should have minimum 19.5 and maximum 23.5 oxygen and continuous atmospheric test duration during activity. We have to continue the gas testing. After which interval we have to do all the recording in this permit. This certificate will mention what a cement certificate is. If we have to do any activity in the area with shared facilities, we have to get the approval of all the related concerned parties. Shahman service, utility area, pipeline, communication, and electrical power line. If we want to do anything in the area of sharing decision, then it will have to be approved by all the parties involved. Approval will have to be taken. Sharing decision will be done by many parties. All related parties will need to get early approval and provide them with early notifications so they can secure their resources, give feedback, or work out any necessary arrangements. This certificate will mention which permit the work is being conducted under, the location, and which facilities could potentially be damaged or affected. There was a start and an end time during which all the activities were recorded in the register. So if we have to temporarily switch off or bypass any safety devices for some purpose, then we will require a temporary de-energized certificate. Road closure certificate. Whenever we have to completely or partially close a specific road for an activity and block the traffic access there, for this we need a road closure certificate along with our permit. And if we have to close the road completely, then it should be a full road closure. If we have to close the road up to the halfway center line, then we have partial or half road closures should be mandatory, and we will not have them temporarily. We will have them for a specific task, a specific time, and a specific activity. When our activity is over, we will have to reopen the road to normal traffic or normal, whatever activity it is. We will have to allow this there. As long as our working activity is in progress, we must have a flagman. In addition to verification or signage, we will have to deploy a flagman there who can reroute all incoming traffic to the operation and guide them to the next possible way. If you have any question against the road closure certificate, you can ask me in the comment section. The permit number will be on it. What is our working activity? For which area do we have a road closure? It should have the road number. It should have full or partial details in total. After that, the most important thing is that this road closure certificate of ours is mandatory for our rescue department. It should have a signature so that in case of emergency, they should know about our path, and in case of emergency, as soon as possible, we will have to clear the road so that we do not have to face any kind of obstacle in carrying out the emergency. We have a permit work system being implemented, which is electronic and paper-based. What documents are required for it, and what records will be kept. So, the first type we have is the paper-based permit work system. If we are using paper-based, the original copy will be displayed at your working location at the working site and will be attached in the permit box by the JP. It is the responsibility of the JP to keep the original copy in the permit box at the working area. The first copy will be with the area authority. The first copy will remain with the area authority, and the second copy will be given to the control room so that during the activity we can examine and review all control measures. If we talk about the electronic permit work system, the printed hard copy will be displayed in your working area. Additionally, the same permit can be accessed, verified, and rechecked on your device by the area authority or in the control room. So students, if our permit to work system, which is an electronic system, does not work, what are the backup requirements? The first point is that in the event the electronic permit to work system is unavailable, whether due to a breakdown or any other reason, paper-based permit to work system will be provided as a contingency. So we should not perform any work without a permit. Instead of the electronic system, we need to use the paper-based permit to work system according to our WMS. All the permits and certificates will be handwritten, and whatever your permit is, you will receive a certificate as per WCC accordingly. We need to use it in the permit time system. All the permits and certificates shall be handwritten, and whatever your permit is, you will receive a certificate as per WCC accordingly. You will require them, but the only difference will be that at this time they are not being generated electronically. You will have to handwrite them on the pre-printed forms. Those will be the same forms, and you will have to fill in all the information by hand. The paper-based permit work system will be authorized by the asset owner, and the endorsement will be done by the site manager of that particular area. If our electronic system is not working in that area or does not exist there, then the asset owner of that area will take effect. And for the endorsement there, the site HSC manager there will endorse it. Only after that you will be able to do any work on the site according to the permit. Why is the validity of the permit imposed? Why is a limit and a time frame set? Whatever we took early precautions or during activity precautions. And regularly review whatever early precautions or during activity precautions were given. They should be reviewed from time to time. On a regular basis, limits are set on the validity periods of permit and associate certificate. For this purpose, we give a limit, a time bound, and a target date to permits and their associated certificates. For this purpose, we assign a limit, a time bound, a target date on the permits and their associated certificates. Our validation period, the time frame, will depend on what? The first thing is the type of permit and certificate. Which permit is it, and which certificates are attached to it? The second thing is the maximum validity of the certificate. How long can that certificate be valid for? Then the revalidation requirement of the permit and certificate. After fulfilling which conditions and requirements we will get any certain permit or certificate revalidated. As you can see in the column below, the critical work permit is your permit for critical work, i.e. high risk activities. Your permit will be for critical work, meaning high risk activities. That permit will be valid for a maximum of 7 calendar days, which you will need to reactivate at the end of each shift and before the revalidated date. Similarly, the hard work permit will also be issued for a maximum of 7 days. And at the end of each shift, you need to have it revalidated by the shift controller. After that, the general work permit will again be validated for a maximum of 7 days. But you need to revalidate it at the end of each shift and make it live again at the start of the next shift. If you have any questions about this slide, you can comment. In the last video, we checked the validity and revalidation of permits, and similarly, certificates also undergo validation and revalidation. Basically, the purpose of the lifetime is specified by the area authority. Mostly, the certificates that come with your permit will be valid until the specified risk dates. However, there will be some certificates that need to be revalidated at the start of each shift or each activity. First, we have the confined space entry certificate, which requires an atmospheric gas test before each shift, after which it will be validated and made live and for you. The atmospheric test record must be completed. Your AGT will come and conduct the test, making your certificate valid. After that, the vehicle entry and machine entry certificate will be created once for a piece of equipment, and it will remain valid for 28 days. Then, the driving certificate also does not require revalidation in the same way, but if you need to perform any activity, a fixed time duration to bitodaso specified by the area authority will be given to you. Similarly, an excavation certificate will be provided to you for a certain permit in a certain area at a certain location for a fixed 28 days. Revalidation will not be required. Then ionizing radiation is also very important, and your area authority will specify how long it is valid for. However, when you need to perform an RT, move or use ionizing radiation material, you must validate it beforehand. You can do this at the start of the shift to ensure that your certificate remains live from 12 to 1. Or before the start of an activity, you will have to get it revalidated. Road closure. A specific road, you can be issued a certificate for a fixed time according to a permit. It will be valid for 28 days or until the completion of your dead job specified by area thought. You can be issued a certificate with a 28-day validity or until the completion of the designated job, as specified by the area authority. Similarly, for how long and for what purpose you need it and which permit will be required will also be specified by the area authority. For energy isolation, whenever you need to perform an activity, you must ensure the specific different type of energy certificate. You must ensure that energy isolation, including its locker number and tag number, is all demonstrated practically. After that, you will be issued and it will remain valid according to your activity. If your time duration is longer, then the area authority will set its revalidation or the validity of this permit for you. The energy isolation certificate does not require revalidation, but you must ensure that you have a valid working 1, which is generally 20 days in long term. During the activity, you must have the heart of it, and then we come to temporary defeat, as specified with the approval. When all parties are approved and involved and endorsement is obtained, it will be validated for a specific time period in which all groups of companies or all involved parties agree. If you have any questions about this video, you can ask me in the comment section about what signature limits are. So whenever any work is being carried out in your area, to properly ensure control over it, the number of permits and which authority can issue them is what we call the signatory limit. There should be a sensible limit on the maximum number of permits to be administered by signatories approved by the asset owner. This is what we call the signatory limit. There should be a sensible limit on the maximum number of permits to be administered by signatories approved by the asset owner. If the quantity of permits exceeds a certain limit, then no matter how many precautionary measures you have, you will not be able to control them properly. As your authority decreases from top to bottom, similarly, the number of authorities where limits are reduced will also decrease. The highest area authority will determine the total number of permits, how many of them can be critical, how many can be hardware, and how many can be general. There will be a specific fixed limit for this. Similarly, the PI will ensure its limit, and then the performing authority will ensure its limit. The performing authority can be in-house or from a contractor company. So here it will be based on condition-wise. If we have a turnaround going on, we have multiple activities, then these limits can differ, but in a normal long-term projects, these limits can be reduced. Basically, a person who is a P will be allowed maximum 5 permits. He will be able to sign 5 permits in his name. He will be able to get approved. Similarly, when he goes to each GP, a GP will be able to take 1 critical permit at a time. Again, additionally, he will be able to take 6 general work permits. Additionally, they can take 6 general work permits. So students, in this slide, we will discuss the 8 basic steps of the permit work system. First, there will be work request and planning. We need to plan what work needs to be done on which equipment and within what time frame, and a request will be generated for this. After that comes identify and approve controls. Once your work package is ready and your SOP is created, then you need to create your FRA, field risk assessment. You must create the FRA and get it approved. The next step will be the implementation of work site control. You need to implement the control measures for the hazards related to the work at your site. Your supervisor will conduct interviews, and your GPs, general practitioners, should be competent to ensure the control measures are in place. HSE, Health, Safety and Environment, should be present and then authorize the work permit. Once all our planning is complete, we will start the actual work. For this, we will require a certain permit, and along with the permit, we will need additional certificates. Once we have all these things, we will communicate this entire message with our team. To start our work, we will need to communicate everything clearly through open communication. After all this, when we have to perform a specific task in any area, we will need to conduct a dynamic risk assessment, on-the-spot task instruction, or last-minute risk assessment related to our task. We will also need to explain all of this to our workforce, including what the risks in our work are and how we will control them, apart from our work in certain areas. What risks we might face, for example, if we are erecting or dismantling scaffolding somewhere. If it is a green zone, then we might not face any other problems. But if it is an amber, yellow, or red zone, then our people might face further risks of toxic gas or a toxic atmosphere. So to evaluate your own support for dynamic risk assessment, which is your risk scenario, we will explain and communicate the points of dynamic risk assessment with all our workers so that they understand it in a better way and can ensure their safety while working. Then active supervision will have to be done. To communicate and complete the work in the proper way, active supervision and continuous monitoring will have to be done. Active supervision and continuous monitoring will be necessary to properly communicate and complete the work. Once your work is complete, after all the completion and after getting the certification signed, after paying for the area, you need to move towards the closure of the permit, close the permit, and hand over the equipment back to the client. So what is it? Our planning, our FRA, our communication, dynamic discussion, permit work execution, and permit closure, all 8 steps of permit work are quite essential. So, whose responsibility is it to explain the things we have to do in the work description? First of all, it is the responsibility of the performing authority, which will be the PA, to clearly describe in the permit what work we have to do. Now comes the question of what will come in clearly describing. But first of all, a clear and concise title and description and work location, in which area and in which plant. A clear title and description and work location specifying in which area and in which plant, which equipment and what activity needs to be performed. After that, the proposed plan's start and finish date and duration. If your work is for 4 days, you will need to mention that properly. If your work is more than a week, you will also need to mention that in the proposed date. Accordingly, you will get a permit for a week and you will need to revalidate the permit. Therefore, you must mention its duration and time along with it. After that comes the job performer, who will supervise and conduct your GP on-site activity. Details such as their employee number, ID number, name and department, whether it's civil, mechanical or maintenance, must be mentioned. Only the authorized person will be able to carry out the work according to this permit. Right. The expected number of employees and work parties and how much workforce you are allowed must be specified. To safely complete a task, the workforce, like just mentioned in the description, should be adequate. Then what should be their competency level? What should their work group be? How many supervisors, how many foremen, how many senior operators, how many fitters and helpers do you have? You will clearly mention the proper job description here. Then, which equipment can be used, which materials and which tools you will use. If you have a confined space activity, the generator you need there should be inspected and it should have a 24-volt light with it. You may have 110 volt amperes, and similarly, which tools can you use in a confined space, or which tools, materials and equipment will be required for this activity should be necessarily mentioned within the permit. After that, at the very end, providing document support. For the activity, for example, if you have any work to be done, its method statement must be attached.
If we need to do blinding there, the blind list must be attached, right? If we need to perform a rescue there, you must have a rescue plan. The rescue will be of multiple types, such as work at height or confined space. So whatever things there are, your activity-based checklist, your area-based checklist will be there. You should have the P&I of the equipment, planning and implementation should be in place. You should have the P&I of the equipment and the planning and implementation drawing should be available. So you need to ensure all these things, Sir Distin. It is the responsibility of your work description PA that whenever you request a permit, all these things should be clearly mentioned within the permit. Sir Distin. The initial job analysis is about what needs to be done. First of all, as per the work scope, we need to determine from the work categorization chart, which is the WCC chart, what type of permit we will need. From this, we need to determine which specific type of permit we will need. We need to determine which level to apply with GA, FRA, or GA. And from the DVC chart, the things we identify will be in front of you. First of all, the type of permit expected as per the DVC chart and as per the checklist. If we are going to implement something from it, we will need the required consent permit for it. After that, but what is the level of risk within it? Do we need to apply GSA level 1 or 2? Or do we need to attach an FRA formal risk assessment? After that, what is the nature of the work activity? Where do we have to work? In which area? What will be its sub-arrangements? And what work is going on in its surroundings? Then, where do we have to work and in which area do we have to work and what will be its coordinates? What work is going on in its surroundings? Then what supporting certificate, documents and signatures can be there with our permit? What documents can be found? There can be an atmosphere test. After that, we can have a work entry. The road can be cleared. It will depend on the working activity and the nature of the job in your surroundings. After that, apart from your certificate, what documents will be there? It could be your plan, your rescue plan, your SOP, standard operating procedure, your work plan, as we can call it. So all these documents and certificates of yours will also need to be ensured as per the SWCC chart or initial job analysis. And lastly, through identification for the need of isolation and temporary defeat. If we need to shut down, bypass, or switch off some safety equipment, temporary defeats will be required. And if isolation is needed for electrical, mechanical, process or instrumentation, then all those isolations must be verified. ICT must be done and we need to obtain authorization from the party and attach it with the permit. In the initial job analysis, we will determine all the necessary factors to identify which permit is required for working in a particular area and what additional requirements will be needed. Based on this, we will be able to execute our work safely. Identification of control measures. So the performing authority will identify applicable hazards and controls. What are the risks in your work and what are the control measures? It is the responsibility of the performing authority to identify these and then display them and mention them within the formal risk assessment. A formal risk assessment will be created for all the activities of your work, which will cover all areas. Whereas for GS, jobs, different packages will have risks identified according to them and their controls will be mentioned. So if you have to work on a general work permit, it will be for a specific task. Instead, you will apply GSA level 1 because your activity will be low risk. Then for critical and hot work permits, GSA level 2 will be applied for your high risk activity. It will be a detailed form in which all hazards and controls will be specified. Similarly, we will have some tasks where we need to do multitasking or perform all procedures at the same time. In such cases, we will replace the formal risk assessment with GSA level 2. In that permit, instead of attaching supporting material or documents, we will not use GSA level 2. Instead, we will attach an FRA which will mention all hazards and control measures. So, whenever a permit request is made by the PA as part of the control measure identification process, the area authority will review it. If all work-related hazards, whereas our general work permit is directly checked by our AA area authority, which can validate or authorize it to allow you the general work permit. If the permit is not provided, then if our permit is not issued by the start date of the plan, it will go back to the area authority for validation, wide approval, and authorization.
So simplifying it, only our general work permit can be approved and authorized by the area authority. If we proceed with the worksite control implementation process, how we implement the agreed control measures at the worksite. Firstly, all prerequisite controls shall be confirmed by the area authority. Agreed upon, how we implement the control at the worksite. The very first point is that all prerequisite controls shall be confirmed by the area authority. In place and effective, all the control measures we needed to take before starting the work. We had to conduct atmospheric tests, verify isolation, provide training to people, and ensure we have inspected tools. So, all the prerequisite control measures must be ensured to be effective. Secondly, the verification of the effective implementation of control shall be provided by the permit issuer and isolation authority. So who will ensure the effective implementation? The permit issuer or isolation authority. All the pre-regulated controls must be initiated and implemented there. The process for implementation of the control should be as per the permit requirement according to the permit requirement before the work starts. So, who will ensure the effective implementation? The permit issuer and isolation authority. All the pre-regulated controls must be initiated and implemented there. The permit must be implemented according to the permit requirement before the work starts. And during the work, any controls that are in place shall be overseen, and you will review them through the daily PTW coordination meeting. So, when we need to request any permit for a task, before that, in our coordination meeting, we need to initiate what work we will have tomorrow, which permit is required, and what certification is needed. All the requisite controls will be communicated and then ensured in the area once we fulfill all the requirements. Only then will we be able to start the permit. Idea 13 is to ensure what needs to be done. First and foremost, ensure that prerequisite controls are in place. So now it says, all the prerequisite controls related to this activity must be complete, and this needs to be ensured. It is the responsibility of the authority to validate or void the permit afterward. All information related to the scope of work must be provided. What work needs to be done, where blending needs to be done, what equipment and tools can be used, what is required, and what are the hazards in the work. Control measures and all things should be accurate as per the job description. After that, the validity time should be valid. On one side, the permit has been validated and liked. Then authorization and other requirements are in place, whatever authorization we needed. Authorized JP, authorized hole watcher, authorized supervisor, whatever requirements we will have, we should have all of them in place within it. Then we have authorization. Whatever requirements the authorized supervisor has, all of them should be in place with us. After that, our authorization should be within the permit limit. The certifications we have should also be authorized, and our plans should be approved as well. The validity of all these things should be within the process time of our permit, which is our work time. They should be valid up to the point of being applicable, and at the very end there should be no conflict, and at the very end no conflict. It should arise due to work activity, meaning that simultaneous operations should not affect any other work, and no other work should be affected by this work. So these were some of the main responsibilities of the area authority, the AA, which they need to ensure before validating the permit. So students, communicate control and commence work. We need to communicate the control measures and how to start the work. So the first thing that will happen is the atmospheric test. If the permit requires an atmospheric test, it will be conducted. Conduct activities in the designated area as per available permits. Certified AGTs will conduct tests. The atmospheric test will have to be conducted. Who will do it? The question arises here as well. Only an authorized gas tester at AGT who has proper authorization, training with a valid certificate, and whose certificate should be valid. There should be refresher training from time to time. Shall conduct the gas test. Whatever your energy isolation is, it will be demonstrated to the general practitioner GP properly, and will be witnessed to ensure that all sources of energy have been isolated here. Shielded with zero energy, whatever your energy isolations are, they will be demonstrated to the general practitioner GP. It will be properly witnessed to ensure that all sources of energy have been isolated here. The permit issuer will inform the GP. The permit issuer operator will inform the GP about the emergency procedures. That if there is any type of emergency in your activity or in your surroundings, what the emergency response plan will be, what the safe evacuation protocol procedure will be, where the assembly point will be, and what kind of alarm will be sounded. Which color light will identify which emergency? So this entire procedure will communicate with the GP before starting your PI work. so that they can communicate with their team and execute the work safely. So students, when our PI has communicated everything with our GP, zero energy demonstration has been done, emergency procedures, assembly point, evacuation plan, all things have been communicated, then the next responsibility goes to the job performer. What the job performer has to do is sign. The work location is the work site, and it is important to ensure control while taking over the site. All the work site requirements, okay? You need to own and complete all your work site requirements. After that, communicate via toolbox talk with your workforce, your work group, and communicate all things with them to improve their understanding through open communication, so that they do not face any kind of danger during work. You should be aware of what dangers exist within your work. In which area are you working, and what potential dangers could exist in that area? What if an emergency occurs, how should you respond to it? Where is your assembly point, and how should you reach it? What protocols will you need to use for rescue and evacuation? So what important information should the work party be aware of? The work content, what work are we supposed to do, in what environmental conditions are we going to work, and how will control measures ensure the safe execution of our work? No. What are the potential hazards and control requirements in our work? What are the control measures? What will be the emergency action if an emergency occurs, and how should we respond? And what will be the work party responsibilities against our professional responsibilities? All employees must know these things, so the entire crew must be aware of all these aspects. Must be known by all employees, so the entire crew must be aware of all these things. What is supervision? And who is responsible for it? To execute any task, the job performer, GPE, is in charge of the safe execution of the work and will ensure that the job performer, who is your supervisor, has certain responsibilities. First and foremost, the work team must follow the HSE precautions regarding safety, environment, and health and adhere to the control measures. Your entire execution team must follow them. The effectiveness of control is maintained. During our work, we will have to face the hazards to which people will be exposed. We have identified control measures for them. If we follow and maintain them, only then can we call them effective control measures. Only then can we protect ourselves and our people from these hazards. Therefore, all those control measures should be effectively maintained and followed. After that, the protocols for simultaneous operations should be followed on site. If more than one team is involved in the work, there should be proper communication. If there are multiple activities happening in one area, proper communication, understanding, and open communication can make the working area safe. After that comes stopping the job. If there is any unsafe act or unsafe condition, yes, everybody, every individual has the authority to stop that unsafe act. We'll highlight it in our area, stop it, and improve it. Our HSE culture will improve. Our area will be safe. What will be the roles, and if we cancel a permit for any reason, will we be able to work on the same permit again or not? First of all, let's talk about that. In certain circumstances or emergencies, it may be appropriate to cancel the permit. We may have any condition change, the surrounding atmosphere may change. Additional hazards may arise, there may be an emergency, a plant emergency, a natural disaster, or a gas leakage. In any such condition, our permits will be cancelled or suspended. What follows is a full reassessment of the work condition in the affected area to ensure the condition has not changed. So whenever we have to work again, we will have to reassess all the areas to ensure that our pre-regulated controls have not changed. We will have to review all our areas again, audit all the areas, recheck and reassess everything. If our area is affected or our neighboring area was affected, then some of its effects will be on our area, on our working location. If it was affected, then there might be some effects on our area or our working location. For all those things, we will have to review again. After that, in all cases, if our permit gets cancelled for any reason, we will not be able to start work on the same permit again. We will need to follow the entire procedure again to acquire a new permit. Similarly, 888, 88, PI, 0, NEG demonstration, JPT, BT communication, all these things we have to, all certificates, all permits, and all additional documents related to it will need to be reapproved by the relevant parties. Only after that will we be able to start work. What are the rules for revalidation? The first is an effective handover between incoming and outgoing personnel, as shift handover and crew change are critical. So, first of all, your handover is a very critical activity during which, if there is work ongoing in the shift, whether during the incoming or outgoing shift, if after a regular interval a complete crew is going on rest, whether after 10 days, 15 days, or there is a 28-day rotation, then the communication between one crew and the next must be effective. This is a critical part. To understand the competition, 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 to understand the competition facility, you should have enough time in which you can discuss all things in detail, such as which permits are running in our temporary absences in our facility. At shift change, all incoming personnel shall be acquainted with the status of all ongoing and planned work. All incoming employees should be aware of what work is going on in our area, in our facility, and what work is planned that is going to start. The following shift roles shall be involved. Who should be involved in this? First, the shift controller is your area authority AA. He is the second. The area authority AA should inform others. First of all, the shift controller, your area authority AA, will properly communicate to the other about which permits have gone live today, what progress has been made on them, which need to be reviewed, and which ones we will start working on again tomorrow. Secondly, the most important thing we have is the PI permit issuer area operator, who will inform us about what work is being done at which working location in our area and what the progress is. How the zero energy demonstration has been conducted, what all procedures must be ensured with the incoming PI and the job performer who is working on an equipment at a working area location will update the incoming GP on all scenarios and working conditions so that it can work efficiently. There is no trouble or issue in understanding the work. If there was any unwanted event during your entire day, you will communicate it, along with the reason and the root cause found, to prevent its recurrence. Under what conditions or on what basis can a permit be automatically suspended? So now a permit can be automatically suspended when if okay, if any emergency alarm is activated at your workplace. It could be a fire emergency, it could be a toxic gas release, it could be a flammable gas release. If any emergency alarm is activated at your site, then your permits will automatically stop and be suspended. You must stop work and gather at the assembly point. Secondly, rescue resources are no longer available. Even if our rescue department's communication system fails, if we do not have a rescue team available, if we do not have rescue equipment, then we will not be able to work according to this permit. We will not proceed with any permit if severe weather conditions occur. If we experience a change in weather conditions such as a sandstorm, heavy humidity or high temperature, or if we have low air velocity, then our TWL thermal work limit will exceed our limits, or as a flag system we will have to stop our work. If we experience an earthquake or any kind of flood, in such conditions of natural disasters or severe changes in weather conditions, our permits will be subscribed. At the end of the shift, or if we do not get an extension time, that permit will be subscribed and we will carry out any work according to that permit. It will be an illegal activity, it will be a prohibited activity. So if you have any questions about this slide, you can ask in the comment section. I will repeat it once again. In case of emergency, if the alarm is activated, if there are no emergency or rescue resources dumped on severe weather condition changes, or at the end of the shift, if the permit code AA is not validated or extended by the area authority, our permits will be suspended. Remote location. First of all, the shift controller, your area authority AA, will properly communicate to the other about which permits have gone live today, what progress has been made on them, which need to be reviewed, and which ones we will start working on again tomorrow. Secondly, the most important thing we have is the PI permit issuer area operator, who will inform us about what work is being done at which working location in our area and what the progress is. How the zero energy demonstration has been conducted, what all procedures must be ensured with the incoming PI and the job performer who is working on an equipment at a working area location will update the incoming GP on all scenarios and working conditions so that it can work efficiently. There is no trouble or issue in understanding the work. If there was any unwanted event during your entire day, you will communicate it, along with the reason and the root cause found, to prevent its recurrence. Under what conditions or on what basis can a permit be automatically suspended? So now a permit can be automatically suspended when if okay, if any emergency alarm is activated at your workplace. It could be a fire emergency, it could be a toxic gas release, it could be a flammable gas release. If any emergency alarm is activated at your site, then your permits will automatically stop and be suspended. You must stop work and gather at the assembly point. Secondly, rescue resources are no longer available. Even if our rescue department's communication system fails, if we do not have a rescue team available, if we do not have rescue equipment, then we will not be able to work according to this permit. We will not proceed with any permit if severe weather conditions occur. If we experience a change in weather conditions such as a sandstorm, heavy humidity or high temperature, or if we have low air velocity, then our TWL thermal work limit will exceed our limits, or as a flag system we will have to stop our work. If we experience an earthquake or any kind of flood, in such conditions of natural disasters or severe changes in weather conditions, our permits will be subscribed. At the end of the shift, or if we do not get an extension time, that permit will be subscribed and we will carry out any work according to that permit. It will be an illegal activity, it will be a prohibited activity. So if you have any questions about this slide, you can ask in the comment section. I will repeat it once again. In case of emergency, if the alarm is activated, if there are no emergency or rescue resources, dumped on severe weather condition changes, or at the end of the shift, if the permit code AA is not validated or extended by the area authority, the completion of the job, or at the end of the work shift, it is the responsibility of the job performer to suspend the permit at job completion or shift end. Work may require suspension in some conditions. We will have to suspend work under authorized personnel. But hazardous atmospheric changes or toxic gas release can make the area hazardous. Situations that may arise on the operator's instruction include a hazardous change in atmospheric conditions, any release of toxic gas, or if our area falls into a hazardous classification, making it unsafe to work in our area. Permanent. There is no such thing as a permanent permit. According to the permit, if any agreed terms, conditions, or requirements are not being followed, our permit will be suspended by the area authority and the permit issuer. If we only needed to do scaffolding, the PTW permit to work, then only scaffolding should be done there. If there is another permit issued for the same equipment and another activity is ongoing, these conflicting activities cannot be done at the same time. We will have to suspend or stop the work that is not a priority. The last point we have is that sanction to test is required if our work is entering someone else's premises. We need approval from relevant parties, so our permit can be suspended as per instruction by AA and PA, besides JP's responsibility. If our terms and conditions are being fulfilled, then our permit will be suspended by area authority and PA. So, apart from the responsibility of the JP, if these terms and conditions are being met, our permit will be suspended by the area authority and PA. So students, when our GP has suspended the permits, what are the responsibilities of the PA? First of all, the PA needs to confirm the status of housekeeping there. After completing the work, all materials, all equipment, and the entire area should be clean. After that, we need to check the equipment status. The equipment we were working on, what is the status of the work there? The equipment is left in a safe condition. The work there should be properly completed. The scaffolding structure should be removed. The access and egress should be removed, and any blending should be undone. This means that during the operation of the equipment, anything that could affect us should be eliminated. Anything related to the equipment that could affect its running or process should not be present. Then after that, the work status and whether our work is actually complete, suspended, incomplete, or in progress. These things must be ensured. After that, what is the status of the permit? You should not rely solely on the wording or information of the JP or the call. The PA must ensure that the folding structure that you had should have been removed, the excess grease should have been removed, the blending there should have been deblended. While running the equipment, anything that can affect it should be eliminated. Anything that can affect the running of the equipment or its process should not be there. Then after that, the work status should be ensured, whether our work is actually complete, suspended, incomplete, or in progress. These things must be ensured. And then what is the status of the permit? You should not rely solely on the GP's wording, information, or call. The PA must ensure that the permit has been physically suspended by the GP in the mobility device DT. Only then can they take action. Ni? These are 4 or 5 steps that the PA must ensure. Never suspend or close the permit without confirming all these steps. Let me repeat. You need to check the housekeeping status. The equipment should be in a safe condition. All utilities, all supplies, and all structures should have been removed. Your work should be complete. After that, the status from the GP should confirm that your permit has been suspended or completed. Only then will your permit be suspended or closed from your end. So students, the last step we have is the permit closure, where the area authority will close, suspend, or cancel your permit. The first thing is the updating of the isolation certificate. When all your isolations are de-isolated, they will update the certificate in their records indicating that all areas and all isolations are complete. We can restore the source of energy. After that, updating the temporary deviation certificate, which includes everything we temporarily deviated. After all the participant endorsements, this certificate can be cancelled or closed, and everything we temporarily deviated can be restored. Then verify the permit issuer's signature on the permit. When our GP suspended or closed the permit, then the PA suspended or closed it as well, then the permit issuer will verify and ensure that our equipment is safe, the accessories with our equipment have been removed, and our isolation has been de-isolated. After all processes are completed, the JP has closed the permit, the PA has closed the permit, and then the permit issuer signs off to suspend the permit. We'll close it. After that, the permit AA needs to inform other parties about the permit. The parties linked with the permit for your atmospheric test will be AGT. For your road closure, it will be the emergency department. All related parties must receive the notification of the permit closure so that they can continue all their activities as per their agreed plan. So if you have any questions about this slide, you can ask me in the comment section. I would request you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon for more videos so that you can receive the notification of the next video first. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for